afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Thank you, delegates, attendees who are there with us on a Saturday afternoon in a very uncertain kind of environment that we are in. People are worried. People have, something in the family, someone somewhere in the office going through a difficult time. Let's start with a prayer in mind for all of them, those who we know, those who we don't know, and let's continue to pray because that looks like the only hope. So on that somber note, if I can call it, let's talk about the well-being. It linked well with the well-being anyway, which we're going to be talking about in this session. So how we can start with is, since you're entrepreneurs, many of you run organizations which have been in the business, but not yet as known as they would be in the coming months and years. So I thought it would be a good idea if we all kind of introduce our organizations, the business we do, maybe in a line or two, so that we can come back to the subject as quickly as we can. But it would be good to know. I personally would want to know what your business is, and maybe in a minute or so we can go in the alphabetical order of the first name. So if we agree with that, then Aishwarya, we can start with you. You can tell us about NCM India, which something I know, but still it would be good for those who don't know. So Aishwarya Bansal. Is Aishwarya there? Chetan, Sanya, is Aishwarya Bansal there? All right, we can move to Anuja in the meantime. Anuja, is your, we learned the pronunciation of your organization, but is Anuja the right pronunciation of your?
Yeah.
All right, Anuja.
My name is Anuja.
Let's hear about Orya.
Okay, thank you, Sunil. Okay, so my company is a 360-degree business management consultancy, which is into branding, marketing, designing, web development, e-commerce solution, application development, and HRL management. But our fortes are marketing, branding, and IT.
So what are the kind of clients you work for? Are they essentially startups or are they?
Yeah, majority are startups because branding is essential for most of the startups because that's their evolution process. I mean, they're just evolving, right? But we also do kind of works for other major brands also because kind of they need IT maintenance or maybe like designing works. So we work with other major brands also.
Anushka, you do give out something in the name by saying retail, but let's see, retail can mean several things. So, but do tell us about 6 Sense Retail.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here. Thank you, Mr. Sunil. Thank you for the warm introduction. Well, 6 Sense Retail is the parent company. My brand name is Wiggles.in. It's a pretty cool company. I'm the founder and CEO of a pet care brand. Wiggles is a D2C pet care brand in the preventative healthcare space, curated by Vets for Your Pets. That means we control the entire supply chain and all these vets, all of these in-house experts that you need when it comes to pet care. We have them all, and we're trying to build a complete ecosystem, reimagine the entire antiquated space that I'd like to call it. And yeah, the journey's been fantastic, and there's so much more to do in this space.
So was it all about business, or was it the love for animals that started, or how did it begin?
I think love for animals, I would definitely say so. It's a passion of mine. Have been an ardent animal lover, animal rescuer since I don't know when, very early in my life. And I don't think there's anything more beautiful than merging your passion for business and your passion for animals. And I've successfully, touch wood, managed to do it. So nothing like that.
Okay. Thanks, Anushka. Manisha, do tell us about WizCare. Manisha, you need to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. First of all, thank you. It's nice to be here on this panel. Okay, WizCare is basically a personal care and hygiene product company. We deal with products like hand wash, body wash, sanitizer, and wet wipes. So WizCare is a subsidiary company of Cosmic Products Private Limited, which is one of the leading OEM manufacturer right now in India. And it's good to be in this industry at this moment. Somewhere it was my passion to do this marketing. And it was very important for us to focus on our brand. That's why Cosmic usually did the OEM, but we started with our own brand called Whiz, and it was good to continue with it.
How do you retail your product? Is it a direct to customer, or do you do it through?
So we have both D2C as well as B2B, right? And the main thing about our company is like the mission. Right now, we care for good health, hygiene, and happiness, which has been there from the very inception, which was there in 2001. So luckily, our team is quite strong, and we're doing well.
Thank you so much. And Shikha, tell us about Tree of Life.
Yes, sir. No, thank you so much, sir. And thank you for having me here, first of all. And I resonate with you. I hope everyone here and their families are well and safe. I'm Shikha Pava. I'm the founder and CEO of How's This. So a similar clarification like Anushka, Tree of Life is actually the corporate name, sir. But How's This is the brand name. We are a home and lifestyle brand that offers coordinated textile and decor solutions for the new age Indian customer. We're primarily a digital first brand, but available offline across many touch points across India. But really our vision is to put a global brand from India in the home space on the map. And we are very passionate. And we say that when you buy a How's This product, you don't just buy a cushion, but you buy a part of India. So that's really the passion that drives us every day.
Super. Thank you, Shikha. Upasna, let us hear about, tell us how you pronounce this. Mithun should have asked about Jajabor also.
Yeah, it's actually pronounced Jajabor, and it actually means nomad in Assamese. It was my grandfather's favorite song, which talks about how we're all nomads and your mind is always wandering. So, make the most of it and be a nomad. Hence Jajabor.
Yeah, and tell us about your work. What's your line of business?
Right. So I run a public relations and end-to-end communications company. Our job is basically to unleash the power of storytelling to help businesses meet their needs. We work with startups, Fortune 500 companies, government, think tanks, policymakers, and more. And we understand, create, and then distribute the right communication for businesses to do anything, raise funds, meet new partners, hire people, get customers, all of that across different new age and traditional media outlets. That's what we do.
Last but not the least, Vibha, let's hear about Swajal, if I'm pronouncing it right.
Yeah, you are.
Thank you.
Not so difficult. So,
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, I can even get a sense of what it means, but still, I would like to know what you do.
So, simplistically speaking, we are in business of providing healthy drinking water and by removing the plastics from any place. And so we've been I founded this company in 2015, and we have worked with several segments. So we are present in several villages where we make sure that the people get clean drinking water at very nominal price. We are also present in many corporates, hotels, airports, and right now we are also working with many 5-star hotels to make sure that rather than giving a plastic bottle in the room, you get a clean glass bottle, and it's packed so that there is no more wastage of plastic. Because the hotels are actually biggest sinners in terms of using plastics. So we have been in this journey and been fairly successful at it. So
I can imagine, yeah. And acceptance is high. Are people accepting it in a big way?
People are looking for solutions, especially when with COVID has happened. Of course, COVID has given us a huge setback because a lot of corporates and hotels, everything actually shut down. Airports shut down, railway stations shut down. But I think what I see also in people is a need to change. So many corporates or other people who never used to bother or listen to us when we would come with our narrative now are actually changing their perspective. And I feel that more and more, especially the youngsters, they are very much more sensitive to these issues.
Thank you. So, see, one idea is, of course, for the audience to know what our panelists do. Other one also is that if you need any help from each other, you know what they do. If you need to reach out to them, please reach out to Sanya or Chetan, and they can help you connect with the other person. I mean, not just the ones on the panel, anyone else you heard through the day. if you need to connect with any of them for good for your business or for anything personal, even if they don't supply in small quantities, I'm sure they would support each other. Okay, so now we come to, sorry.
Thanks a lot.
No, I actually, yeah, something what you do, I don't know how large or small can your supplies be, but it's a great idea, Vibha. Thank you.
We try to reach every nook and corner with that.
Or it can even be 20 people in an office, they can buy a plant?
Normally we are working at more than 50, but we are coming up with designs for smaller offices too.
Thank you so much. So now coming to the culture, which is about, which creates, which is positive, which is productive. Maybe, again, this time we can talk about individually. I can imagine, all of us do not have very large organizations at this stage. Irrespective of the size we have for our organization, I'm sure it does cross your mind in terms of how to kind of take care of the physical, mental, emotional, moral well-being of people. Because if people feel good, people are happy in life, they work more. And I'm not saying strictly in the sense of productivity or HR. I'm really thinking in terms of what we owe to society. All businesses are to do with society. Things come from society, they go back to society. And if we do not have any sense of, I don't know, get into CSR, but yeah, good of our own environment, which first begins with people around us, 10 people, 20 people, 200 people, 500 people who we deal with. Like in today's world, almost 24/7, we're sending them messages, we're sending them mails. I'm not going to be sitting on judging like how many should be sent, not be sent. Should there be a time when you send mails? There should be a time when you do not send mails. That's like really varies from, what your business is, what your work is. But you can tell us, either you can tell us how through your own example of your organization or your views. I'm not going to be strictly, on what your practices are, because this is not the forum for that. The forum is to look at the best ideas, to take away and think, great, what you said was fantastic, and let me try applying my own. Again, start with you, Anuja. Again, this is alphabetical, so Anuja, we can start with you. What do you have to say, or how you think we can work towards creating a productive and positive culture in the organization?
Thank you. Thank you, Sunil sir. So to start with, basically, as a business, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a CEO, I totally agree to the fact that we all do need a distinct corporate culture to be maintained so that our ecosystem expands, scale and spread, or whatever it is. Because ultimately organization, the term organization does not depend upon the management. I mean the CEO, CMO, whatever, or the owner himself. It is a collaboration of employee and the employees. So if that particular side is weak, if they're not happy, definitely at some point it will definitely reflect on our ecosystem. So I totally believe that there should be a very positive work culture that has to be maintained in every organization. Like you said, no matter small or big, that doesn't matter actually, because because it's spark, the magic that every individual or a member of your team can bring is very huge. For example, if I speak myself, I was attending a meeting, I was having a client call, and I was supposed to take this 1:30 panel thing. My teammate, my employees are so supportive. They set my lab. See, I could do everything parallel. If not, trust me, time management would have been, I don't know. I cannot face that constraint, because that is since we do a lot of multi-verticals, services, it is pretty much hard sometimes to manage all the balls. So I totally believe that my employees, the team actually supports me to the core. Even like you said, sometimes, timing doesn't matter. At midnight, I give them a message via WhatsApp. dude, girl, I need this thing because a client is like, tomorrow morning, if you didn't get, sometimes I feel so bad. But on the contrary, what we do is that we compensate it. Sometimes we give them an off. Sometimes whenever they do a kind of, extra work or something, we give them an increment. We take them for a weekend, a kind of like, something, a dinner or something like that. Because I believe that, even though we talk everything on a professional note, I totally believe that, everything is a personal touch.
Thank you. Yeah. By the way, so I didn't say, I clarify again. I'm not going to be giving any judgment. I'll hear from you and people can form their own opinion. I think I clarified how much you call, when you call. In fact, we must crack what works, what doesn't work. Anushka, you of course, your business is based on compassion, right? You can have compassion for animals. You can definitely have compassion for human beings. I presume. I think that's a safe presumption to have. So how does that work for you, or how you think it should be for the organization?
I think that's exactly the point. If I have to be honest, I think since we are in the business of animals, it's very important to think of our people as human first, rather than just workhorses that you'd ideally think of. But for me, I think since we've been in this business, the pandemic has been really different for us. We've really scaled over the last year because healthcare was in demand now more than ever, and we had to take responsibility, and that meant we were working 24/7. Some of our teams were working from home, and then some of them were on the field. Our vets were on the field, and the number of cases that came into us was much more. So I was sort of dealing with two different teams with two different working modules. And in these points is when I realized that people in general, what you need to do more than anything else is treat them with gratitude. Appreciate all of their small wins more than anything else. Hear them out. I think one thing that really resonates with me, and one thing that I've really filtrated into the team, is that everyone's opinion matters and everyone must have a voice. And when you start giving people the voice to express themselves, to share their thoughts, to share their opinions, regardless of hierarchies, structures, designations, you create a very positive culture within the company where your team knows that you're being heard. And we want to incorporate new ideas, we want to accept new ideas. And what ends up happening is you create mini managers who take absolute ownership of all that they do. And I think there's nothing more beautiful than that. In my team, I've seen the company grow over the last 2 years from a team of 3 founders through over 160 plus people across India. And we've grown, we have really scaled. And this calls for growth pangs for sure, and a lot of difficulties that come along too. But I think what really brings us together is we have a huge age group, and that's the beauty of it. We have someone who's in their 50s working with us, who's heading a department, but we have someone as old as 17. I'm 21 myself, let me also say that. So, I am trying to balance both sides, but I think that's the beauty of it, right? When you're able to bring so many people together, make their voice heard, make each other reciprocative to each other's ideas and concepts, the amalgamation is beautiful. And I think when you're able to set something like that in motion within your company, I think you've really created a very successful and very positive culture. And I think that's exactly what we're going for at Wiggle. So the intention is to serve, not sell, just not for our consumers, but also for our team in general. And how you deal with your team and how your team is with each other is how you are with your customers. And I think that's exactly how I'd like to put it.
Thank you, Anushka. Manisha, you also, you're in the business of making people look good. I'm sure, your own people too, I'm sure you make them feel good. That's what we are talking about. So let's hear what you think of creating a culture where people think positive and they're far more productive than they would be otherwise.
I would completely agree with Anushka as well as Anuja. So our department is to supply products to the people. So it's, as she said, it's not just about the care factor to the customers and caring about our products. It starts from our organization. So the care actually starts in the organizations, which I think bring the maximum positivity in our work culture. Why do I say care? Because the care, it's a very interdependency. If I'm selling a product, my product is not sold. It has to go from the scratch. It has to have a marketing team. It has to have a sales team, then a supply chain. So all that is very interdependent. When I show them care in my organization, in our organization, they care for the customers at the end of the day. They care for the company at the end of the day. So that's what I believe. It's very important to have a care factor, to have a positive environment. Secondly, as they said, that to hear them out, yes, we do have in every category, we do have like mini managers. You know, when we hear them out, we give them the responsibility, the ounce to do their work themselves, and their suggestions are also executed. It's just not that, okay, you're hearing it for the sake of it. We hear them out, so that, because if once you're in a particular field, why do we hire people for their skill sets? And once they're in a particular field, they know the execution of the daily activity. They become better than us in that particular field, I feel. You know, so I believe listening to them and getting those things also solved and executed is very important. So that's one of my main this thing to have a positive culture is about care, about hearing them out and executing it. If I can go on about it, sir, do you want to just continue?
Absolutely. Yeah. You practice that.
Pardon, sir? I can't hear you.
You can't.
The link is breaking.
He's breaking.
Can you all hear Sunil, sir?
No, it's breaking here as well, sir. Even I. Shikha, yes.
Anya, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Now I can. Sir.
Okay. Maybe there's an issue with my internet, but I'll try to log in from my phone if required. But for now, we will move to Shikha. And Shikha, do you have a large workforce? Just to set the context.
It's about 40 to 50 people.
Oh, that's a lot of people, yeah. Sure.
Yes. No, and actually, it's a great question because it took me, and I was nice to hear from everyone because I had time to reflect on how my own journey has been, because it's been over a decade. I've run 2-3 organizations. This is my third venture actually. Okay. And it really gave me time to understand. I think if I may just shed quickly on 3 points, I would like to sort of elucidate. One is, when I started, culture for me was very much about sort of setting a vision statement, what are the values of the company, which are intellectual values, right? High performance, you want integrity, which are very, very crucial. But I think as I obviously grew and you mature as an entrepreneur, you realize that there's something which is much beyond cognitive culture, right? There's also the emotional culture. What are your employees feeling on a day-to-day basis when they come? What are the kind of cues you are giving them to be able to really express themselves? And I've come to realize people bring themselves to work. They don't just bring, they're not employees when they come. They're really bringing everything. They have a fight at home, they even bring that to work, right? So how are you giving enough buffers to be able to have them, have a great work day and really bring their best to the team? So, organization culture is something I've worked on, the emotional culture is something I've worked on a lot in the last few years, where, subtle micro moments, how we're all interacting as team members, how we're there to support. And COVID was a great example of that. I think so. Those two things are, the tenets by which I try and define how I try and create the culture going forward. Second is as a founder. You mentioned, so we're all running startup, early stage companies, and we cannot minimize the impact we have that we bring to the table. A day you are low on energy, you'll see your team will also deflate. So it's a hard job, and that's what we're all trying to do. But being sort of, role modeling constantly the behaviors that you want your team to create is very important to be able to create a constant positive culture. And the third thing is, how do you institutionalize it, right? I mean, obviously one, like many of my colleagues here said, my panelists said, Anushka mentioned that you have to have a team that also takes this beyond yourself, because you can't be the be all and center. So huddles, recognition, rewards, these are practices. I don't want to get into it, but these are the 3 things I wanted to sort of shed light on. And it's something that you have to work on every single day, I think, as sort of leaders of the company.
Yeah. Upasana, you are in the people's business, you are anyway about ideas and creativity. You don't have a production line, you don't have machines. So you depend on people even more than perhaps some other businesses. Absolutely. So how does that work for you at Diageo?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we're a complete services business. There's no bots, there's no factory service. So people are our assets, and that's very, very important. But my experience comes from not just working with my company on a daily basis. We have everybody from early stage startups to Fortune 500 companies coming to us and saying, hey, how do we now communicate with our internal stakeholders? How do we make culture sort of scale? And a couple of things come to mind. I think the pandemic has taught all of us that, organizations are not office walls or perks, they're people, right? And all of us have been lucky enough to have a workforce that has continued to not just survive but thrive in the pandemic and make work happen, which means that the most valuable asset in your company is human capital, right? So if that is the most valuable asset in your company, as a founder, you need to be spending your most amount of time in enabling that. right? And everything else can get taken care of. So I think just focusing and understanding that's the most important thing is step one. Step two, all of us are early stage founders, and we all have a company is always an extension of the founder. And I really agree with my fellow panelists on that. It has to start top down, right? So we all have this idea of, this utopian workplace or the kind of place where we want the values we stand for to work. The biggest challenge is actually scaling it. Okay. How do you get it from first you to 10 people, then from 10 to 50 to 100 to so on, which is where I think foundations and processes work really, really well. Culture, if it's not scalable, is just a beautiful document, right? And that's not going to make any difference. So when you are creating, or when you are just sort of understanding what is the culture you want in your company, it has to be something that comes directly from you, that you feel passionate about. It's scalable, but the most important thing is you have to walk the talk, right? I have this rule in the company that nobody can delegate anything to anybody if they can't do it themselves. It could be the smallest thing or it could be the biggest thing. So if you're expecting a company to work and thrive in great culture, you have to be the physical embodiment of that every day. So those are my key takeaways from my company and the tons of company we work with.
Yeah, unanimity, fantastic. But of course, Vibha, we know from you, your kind of work requires exceptional kind of social commitment, understanding of the cause of sustainability, why it's important to be doing the business that you're doing. So how is it any different from other organizations, or you think the challenges of creating a positive and productive, with the result productive workforce are the same? Vibha, this was...
So I have actually a very a big mixed bag of people, because we have a factory, and so we have basic level of workers, along with, of course, with a very high-end sales staff and others. So we have huge and then big operations in many cities. So we have a team which is very, very different, by nature, by temperament, very different type of people. So one thing which I always do, which seems very basic to, I think you have said a lot of things, is to make the workplace I try to make it very beautiful, keep it very clean, put a lot of plants, keep it very happy place. So, because everybody spends the best time of their life in this place. So I feel that they should come in and feel cheerful, they should give a joy as soon as they walk in, and they should feel joyful to walk into this place. And I've made it the color combinations and others. So recently I set up a new office. So I spent a lot of money and paid a lot of attention to the color schemes, and to make sure that if the people come, they have this cheerful in their heart. So this is one point I feel, and I think it does help, because you have done it once, it continues to help you day after day. So
is that a new line of business?
That's one thing.
You talked about...
no, it was an office.
Sorry,
nothing else.
Same
business, but second, I feel that we continuously do town halls, which I wasn't doing them very regularly before, but during COVID, I felt the team was actually falling apart, because there were so many cities and they were feeling a little down. So when we started this tradition of having chatting every day at 5:30, everybody joins WhatsApp. So we all just chat and tell each other what all we accomplished today, how was our day. So I think that is something immediately it helped the whole team to glue up much better. And I think that was so every Saturday we have a town hall, and that town hall also we again talk about their birthdays, people's birthdays or marriages, or just have fun. Any good announcements which have to be made. So that all those things have really helped the workplace.
Thank you so much. So I think now that we kind of know each one individually, what you do, what you think about creating a culture, now we can be a little more unstructured and talk things, kind of brainstorm on what it should be. So one of the things I have in mind, and all of you are very young, But still, as Anushka said, she has people from all age groups. Similarly, we have people from all backgrounds who work in our organizations, performing different roles. But what I do want to talk about is, because I think I speak with several people, and I find that the expectations that an employee today has from an organization that he or she works for have changed quite a bit, have changed drastically in the past 5 to 10 years. I don't want to talk about anything this generation, that generation. I'm talking about even beyond millennials. I'm actually tempted to talk Gen Z, right? As they understand, this is the generation which was digital native. They were born at a time when there was internet. They're exposed to global best practices. And also there is a lot more thinking about what the world should be. Everyone has an idea about what the world should be. Not my world, but generally what the world should be. There's a certain kind of idealism which has always been there, but now a little more so. So I want to be sure of who I do business with, whose product I buy, who I good person can be the brand I buy, a good person can be in brand. If we learn from brand marketing, everyone has seen that brands or organizations which are about social good tend to be bought more, even if they are a little more expensive. In fact, if you're not about social good, forget your future. Your brand has no future, right? And I'm sure that applies to organizations also, because you have certain talent, certain kind of people, but you do want to attract the best to work for you, right? Because that's what they determine the business. So let's have this open session on what do you think the expectation, and also what I meant to do was, here we are, as entrepreneurs talking about what we think, what we want. Let's look at a little bit what the people on the other side want and they look for, particularly the younger lot, say, currently who's like 25 to 30, 35 now. So let's just, anyone can start, and then others can add to it, and support or disagree or agree or add to that. Anyone?
Can I start for it?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to say, basically, in our organization, in the personal care sector, we are all women, or I would term it as girls, because they all started career with me at the age of straight after college, probably 18 and 20. And for us to hire them, it was basically more than the skill set, even the way, their integrity and the empathy they had towards the company. So that was the reason I hired them. So I have seen all my girls growing up with us, getting married. It's been like 10 years, 12 years right now. We're running this organization. So I've seen all of them growing up with us, getting married. So in that way, I would like to say that, like how you said, we have this culture of, interacting, chit-chatting, getting to know what they do. And we do even have, like right now, of course, the COVID time is going on, but earlier we used to have, like, at least in 3 months, all the girls would plan a trip together and go, just the girls, so that bonding could become better, since they're all young girls and all. I think these are all the care factors they really need in the industry, to have a positive culture. And as how I like the way how Vibha ma'am said, about I did not realize that we can still have these interactive sessions, even during Zoom calls and all those stuff, because it was only work. We are even trying to redefine the work, in these COVID times, because it's not easy when they are actually missing the office space and all that stuff, especially all the girls working with us.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah, anyone else? Yeah.
To add to that, I'd like to add to that. I think, when we do interviews, we realize something that, every organization will give the employer paycheck, right? What are you bringing to the table beyond a paycheck? And today, when you're trying to hire top quality talent, right, you are interviewing them, but they are also seeking you, and they are trying to understand if this organization is a good fit. So you're also giving an interview to them, right? And you need to understand that actually happens. And, like you said, so that, brands that stand stand for social good do well, it's because I think we need something beyond, like I said, just the paycheck, right? If somebody is spending 16 hours, 12 hours a day in some place, it has to gratify you beyond, okay, I got my salary, right? It needs to actually speak to what you're doing. It needs to satisfy you on a mental level. And you need to not just project it, you need to stand up to your end of the bargain as a leader or a founder, saying that, okay, if you're giving me, your prime years and all of this mental capital, I will give you this in return. And it has to be beyond money. And the wonderful initiatives you're talking about, it has to be a great culture, it has to be growth, it has to be more ownership, it has to be learning. So you have to work as hard with your employees, and that's the input to great culture. It can't be a one-sided thing. So yeah,
you still have a chance to correct. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, you still have a chance to correct things. Imagine if you are a 75-year-old organization, and you have a certain image, you're known for certain things.
Actually, just to add to that, I don't think that's completely true, because we do work with some very legacy-driven organizations that are possibly like 100 years old. As leadership evolves, you have to be okay to be evolving, and it just depends on how comfortable the management is with change. If they're comfortable with change, you can adapt to it. If you're not, you'll never change, even if you're a 2-year-old organization. So I just think it comes down to the minds.
I know, Pasna, but it becomes difficult to change. You have certain systems, you're part of a large group company. Little change means layers of approvals, thinking, brainstorming, hiring consultants like Anuja, or you asking, paying money. A lot of thinking goes into it. But when you are your own boss, when you are the business person, you're the owner, you can do it more quickly. You can be, as I say, more agile. Yeah. So so what else do you think the current generation of people expect from their organization?
If I may say something, I've observed one very interesting thing. I think it's the beauty of our country. We're such a large, heterogeneous country. And I've seen that you really can splice and see behavior very different when you see how metros, there's this generation coming into the workforce, and from, let's say, the smaller towns. So the millennials act actually very differently. Even the Gen Z act very differently. And that's how, as of course people offering opportunity, we have to adapt ourselves and make ourselves relevant for each. But agreeing with, what was discussed now, I think challenging, gig roles, constantly having things that are, giving them mental, I would say, activating them mentally. Things have to be about self-worth much more than, let's say, just a job that you're doing, right? Connected to values that you may have. I have seen people leave because they've said, our ethos doesn't match the value of the company, and it's amazing, but those choices are now available for people to make. And one very big thing is health, I think, which is good. Mental health, I think people are willing to even cut back on a paycheck, but they want a place which is cognizant of the fact that they need lesser working hours or flexible working hours. They want to work hard, but which I think is a very healthy trend. We were working 10, 12 hours, but I think today, if you can realize you can have a great job, have a great career, but manage your work life, and these are demands that are coming, and I think it's a great sign, actually, if I may say.
Yeah, in fact, thank you so much for making my job easy, which is what I was trying to get at. Beyond paycheck, and number of days of work or hours of you want them to put in. I was talking actually beyond that, which is what Shikha said. And to my mind, that's what's happening. People are really, people even want to see you have integrity. People want you to be ethical and moral. They say, man, it's all right, sir, it's all right if we make a little less money, but let's not do anything wrong. Let's not do anything which means I can't sleep at night. And don't make me do any wrong either. But let's not cheat anyone. Why do we need to? Let's be a better product. Let's market ourselves better. Let's be more efficient if you want to save money. But let's not do anything wrong. Let's pay our taxes on time. So that's why I find new age organizations are far more ethical, far more, safer places to work at from the point of view of, legality, health, as you said, well-being. So, anything else anyone would like to add from
I would like to add
today's
on
generation? Please go
I would
ahead.
like to add on to what Shikha said. The first statement, what Shikha said in the earlier previous conversation, like, for an entrepreneur or a business owner, every day is a learning and every day is a struggle. It is not that the challenges you face today is not what you face tomorrow. And what Upasana said and Manisha said, see, the bond we have with our employees, it matters than anything, because I have three companies basically. One is a consultancy based where we give services. It is a completely service based stuff, and other one is a tech based thing. It's a cloud management, cloud hosting. It's a cloud managed hosting where it's a group of techies. I have to fight. It's kind of like I'm in mid of like a war between the techies and the marketing people, because the vision they have, it's totally different. So like Shikha said, sitting in you're sitting in a heap of a lot of troubles, a Pandora's box in itself, where sometimes you have to tell them, okay, calm down, guys, it's okay, your vision is right, their vision is right. So every single day it's kind of like, I don't know, sometimes I really don't know how these women entrepreneurs, how do they manage their time? I don't think that 24 hours is enough for me. I'm sure that every single one of them sitting out there would totally agree with that. Sometimes you forget your breakfast, I don't know, it is like that. And since we being into HR, like Upasana said, these guys actually interview us back, because I am the head of the HR stuff also. So sometimes I also get certain calls, especially for high profiles and all. You won't believe it. The question they ask is like, the demand is that they need high pay scale. The second thing is that they are asking us what all other than the salary stuff, what are the perks they get and what is the timing. Then many kind of like, especially after post pandemic has given again, like what Shikha said, it is an eye opener to a hell number of problems. The ones which were under deep beneath the hell, everything has rised up to that level where we don't know what to answer. So we need to be very, very patient to tackle their problem and make them convince, okay, fine, this is like that. Because I recently started an edtech platform. So I needed so many recruitees for that, the content managers, the app developers, all blah, blah, blah. So the thing is that I have to handle HR for different profiles. So at the end of the day, once it interview is done, I myself don't know where do I start. Because the vision, the views the Gen Zs have is kind of like, it's like, and people like us, where like Sir said, we guys, the entrepreneurs of the colleagues I have, we all belong to that an era which is in between the Gen Zs and the old generation. So we are the only people who are flexible. The question is that, so from where do we get that empathy?
Yeah. No, I understand. Yeah, I hear it all the time, Earlier there was a time when we wanted to recruit someone, we say, let's do a reference check, let's do a 360 degree. Now I meet people all the time who say, by the time he came for the interview, she had done a reference check on us completely. She had done a 360 on us. How's the boss? Is she very temperamental? Is she this? Is she that? How progressive are they?
Every interview we have given also, they might have checked.
Yeah.
Which paper, which feature.
And what I realize is a lot of things they don't say, but they keep it in mind before they take it. Saying, I wonder, he took the offer, he never joined. But probably because he checked on you with some people and says, they don't have this, they don't care. No career plan, no growth plan, man. They just kind of expect you to find the next job, whatever. If I have to find the next job, then I might as well find it now, No, I realize that's what's happening. So now that we have another 4-5 minutes to go, again, let's keep it open-ended. And, again, we talked about what we think, what best we can do, or what we're doing in our organizations. Can we, here maybe probably each one of us can name at least one organization or an author or a blogger or a trainer or somebody or something or some institution where you want to share with us as we do when friends sit and chat, which we all must know from when thinking of employee well-being or organizational culture. So here we can start with you, Anuja. Any organization that you particularly admire, any book that you've come across, any author, any blogger, any Twitter guy who you think I follow him or so closely that what he says is like something which really inspires me every day in this area.
Very inspired by the way Google has set up their system, because the way they look for ultimate productivity. See, if earlier when the organization were built, it was on this terms and conditions, like this. There'll be a number of bullets where it will be like these are the discipline. More than that, they have changed the scenario completely. It's all about you having your mental peace. Like Shikha again said, it's all about mental peace again. Unless you have inner peace, how on earth you can work, you can even think, you can't even move. So I think Google is a great organization where they've created a kind of, this is from so many friends of mine, colleagues of mine who are working there. I've heard from them the way the cool way in which they work. So sometimes I actually I feel really jealous. I can't work over there running a startup with taking all the stress.
But there's no harm learning from anyone, and we can learn from anyone today as well. It's such an open society we live in. Anushka, any person, organization, author that you admire?
Absolutely. In fact, I was just tuning into this conversation that happened a couple of hours back with Miss Samina with respect to Cipla, and I was hearing her talk, and it was wonderful. It was so inspirational. So I think if I had to boil it down, I think there are two companies that have been an inspiration for me, especially at Wiggles, being in healthcare. One is definitely Cipla, and the other is Biocon. The reason I say so is because you're in the middle of a pandemic. The world is shaken, and it's not just India; it's the world. People are scared. But for a company to be a visionary and to bring everyone on the same page to work towards helping and saving so many lives, regardless of their own lives, and taking a risk every single day, it's phenomenal. And that deserves an applaud. And if they're able to do it, and so can we, and they are huge, and to ensure that passion and that spirit and that motivation is seeped into all of their team members, it's brilliant. And I think I draw so much inspiration from them. I hope I can be 10% of what they are right now, and I think I'll be doing a good job, and I can have a good night's sleep.
No, high five on that, Anushka. Likewise on Cipla. This morning I was reading Mr. Hamid's thing, how Hindustan Times runs a column called "What We Need to Know About Pandemic COVID." So Sukumar was talking about how we met him recently and what his insights were about creating new medicines and not creating on that. Sure, Manisha, let's hear any organization person. It could well be a CEO or another founder. Something else that encourages you.
Yeah. I would definitely go in with Anushka. Even I heard about Cipla, and I'm quite happy about it, the way they are working. And probably it's given us also a big inspiration. And I would just like to add, not trying to be self-centered, but just trying to add that, WizCare, we have, during this COVID time, we've helped like 750 institutions by giving them free hand wash and free sanitizer supply. So I believe my company, the team, was very generous to work round the clock for all these things. Secondly, like one of the author I really admire, and I feel his teachings work for us and our organizations, is Robin Sharma. Because I feel, yes, the workload is quite a bit and everything, but I try to tell my girls and everybody that we do need to take a break in between, which is very important. We feel, we're wasting that time, but we are actually not wasting that time. Like how Shikha ma'am said about the mindfulness. I think that mindfulness is very important. We need to give that 10 minutes break to ourselves in between the work time. So that's Robin Sharma is my go-to author. I follow his teachings a lot.
Buy copies of that and gift it to your staff sometimes. Robin Sharma. Manisha, do you do that?
Pardon, sir, I didn't hear you.
Do you buy Robin Sharma's books and give it to your staff once a while?
So we have this online. So I have bought for all of them. So we just bought this online thing.
You would know.
So I felt that online was better for all of us than to distribute the books. So we did that Audible. I gave a Audible membership to each one of them, and I've asked them to hear it out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, super. That's even better.
Because
So
that's what I feel, we can connect to that. I don't know. So it's like, you come to know that this person has finished the book and they share it with us that we've done the book. And it's interesting because at times they told me that they could not read the book because they didn't have time. So I said, okay, let's start Audible then, for the time being.
Your headphones and get the book. Shikha, let's hear from you.
Yes, for me, two ones quickly. I think first, I've always been very inspired by The Body Shop, the way Anita Roddick built a company, to make ethical consumerism part of the fabric of an organization and to make it like the DNA. I mean, I think if we can create something like that in India, that's honestly my goal. And I think it's phenomenal how she managed to create an organization with those kind of values which are really lived. The second is maybe more personal. I was I did my MBA from XLRI Jamshedpur. So the Tatas were all around us. And I think just to see the way they've built a conglomerate of all kinds of businesses, tech now, everything, old businesses, but to still have those same solid values running through, and that actually is under the umbrella of the Tata conglomerate. I think it's phenomenal. It's how a business really should be run. So these two sort of are guiding posts for me, and continue to be inspired every day from them.
Asna?
Right. I think the first one would be Whitney Wolf Hard, who is the founder and CEO of Bumble, the dating app. And there's this image that you would have all seen where she was holding a baby on one hand and she got IPO'd, right? And it was such a phenomenal image to see as a female founder, where we're all constantly said, okay, how are you going to balance? But how will you make the company profitable? Just to see her with that baby and, being the youngest, I think she is the youngest billionaire CEO in America right now, was phenomenal. And I've spoken to, people who work at Bumble. Majority of her employees are female and there's incredible balance. They're all working towards a product that's really changed the way women interact online, making the first move. So she's definitely an inspiration, and that culture has seeped onto every single piece of the company, the product, the way people speak, etc. The second one also is a female-led company called Canva, which is a design company based out of Australia. Also, IPO was $1 billion company, and I happened to interact with the team as well. And again, that core philosophy of, their philosophy is, making design democratic, but it's not just a statement that's on their website. They make that piece a passion point for every employee, where the way they interact with other people, the way they work, why they're operating, everything is connected by that. And these are both phenomenal female-led organizations that show, entrepreneurs like me that you can have it all. You can build a successful company. There are no rules, and it all starts with you. So two women founders I really look up to, and I recommend as much as you can read a lot about Whitney and her journey. It's very inspiring.
Brilliant. That was really interesting. Basna, Vibha, yes.
Recently, there is this book called by Dale Carnegie, How to Influence People. So that I knew about the book for a very long time, but I never read it. And actually, somehow it landed up on my Kindle one day. Somehow the Kindle guys just gave it free. So how to influence people is something which has always been on my mind. And when I read it, and it's such an old book and in a very, very archaic, old-time language, but it made some very solid points. And I had a habit before this that frequently, in our business, we meet these people, we feel they are the scum of the earth. You go to these government offices and these people are simply not responding. These clerks are really killing you. So I used to really lose my temper. That kind of stopped me on the track. That book, I realized, holding on and keeping your behavior stable and keeping your personality very strong, rock solid, and influence. Coming always from the place of dignity is very important. So I would say in this last 1 year, that kind of really changed the way I look at things in all aspects. And
thank you so much. Thank you, Vibha. That's all we have time for. Wish it could be a little more the way it was going. As it happens, it picks up towards the end. That's when you get messages from Chetan and Sanya and everyone, and Bitin also showing up saying, please, let's wrap up now. So thank you guys. It's going to be more fun. I think if nothing else, we had fun. We talked things which really were meaningful to the businesses, and I hope we have learned from each other, and the audience too picked up a few things which would help them in their businesses, in their lives, and things would be good for people at large. Thank you very much.